Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Nara Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you so much for joining in. And let me just share the screen with you all. Sorry, actually, the summer camp took a lot of time today because we are doing some art and craft. So that took a little more time than usual. Otherwise, I finish it by 9:25. So we had completed almost till the 23rd shloka. Yeah, till the 23rd shloka. We were supposed to move with the 24th. So currently what we are doing in this fifth chapter is the topic currently going on is the creation of the universe. So because Narad Muni had asked Brahmaji that what is Yataha Shrishtam, how is the universe created, and what is the process of creation. So we are doing this particular shlokas from shloka number 21 to 31, sorry, 35 approximately, you can say that these will be done. So we'll just start with the 24th shloka. So ahankar iti prokto vikuruvan samabhutrida vaikareste jascha tamascheti yadbhida dravya shakti kriya shakti jnana shaktis iti prabho. Sushil Prabhu is there, right? Prabhuji, please do the honors of reading the translation and purport both.
Hare Krishna. Translation: the self-centered materialistic ego, thus being transformed into three features, becomes known as the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance in three divisions, namely the powers that evolve matter, knowledge of material creation, and the intelligence that guides such materialistic activities. Narada, you are quite competent to understand this. But what? Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I'll just... Yeah, Prabhu.
Materialist ego, or the sense of identification with matter, is grossly self-centered, devoid of clear knowledge of the existence of God. And this self-centered egoism of the materialistic living entities is the cause of their being conditioned by the other paraphernalia and continuing their bondage of material existence. In the Bhagavad-gītā, this self-centered egoism is very nicely explained in the 7th chapter, verses 24 through 27. The self-centered impersonalist, without a clear conception of the personality of Godhead, concludes in his own way that the personality of Godhead takes a material shape from his original impersonal spiritual existence for a particular mission. And this, Hare Krishna. And this misleading conception of the Supreme Lord by the self-centered impersonalist continues, even though he is seen to be very interested in the Vedic literatures such as Brahma Sutras and other highly intellectual sources of knowledge. This ignorance of the personal feature of the Lord is due simply to ignorance of the mixture of different modes. The impersonalist thus cannot conceive of the Lord's eternal spiritual form of eternal knowledge, bliss, and existence. The reason is that the Lord reserved the right of not exposing himself to the non-devotee who, even after a thorough study of literature like the Bhagavad-gītā, remains an impersonalist simply by obstinacy. This obstinacy is due to the action of Yogamaya, a personal energy of the Lord that acts like an eddy cam by covering the vision of the obstinate impersonalist. Such a bewildered human being is described as moda or grossly ignorant because he is unable to understand the transcendental form of the Lord as being unborn and unchangeable. If the Lord takes the form or material shape from his original impersonal feature, then it means that he is born and changeable from impersonal to personal. But he is not changeable, nor does he ever take a new birth like a conditioned soul. The conditioned soul may take a form birth after birth due to his conditional existence in matter. But the self-centered impersonalists, by their gross ignorance, accept the Lord as one of them because of self-centered egoism, even after so-called advancement of knowledge in the Vedanta. The Lord being Lord being situated in heart of every individual living entity knows very well the tendency of such conditioned souls in terms of past, present, and future. But the bewildered conditioned soul hardly can know him in his eternal form. By the will of the Lord, therefore, the impersonalist, even after knowing the Brahman and Paramatma features of the Lord, remains ignorant of his eternal personal feature as ever existent Narayana, transcendental to all material creation. The cause of such gross ignorance is constant engagement by the materialistic man in the matter of artificially increasing material demands. To realize the Supreme Person of Godhead, one has to purify the materialistic senses by devotional service. The mode of goodness or the Brahmanical culture recommended in the Vedic literature is helpful to such spiritual realization, and thus the Jnana Shakti stage of the conditioned soul is comparatively better than the other two stages, namely the Dravya Shakti and Kriya Shakti. The whole material civilization is manifested by huge accumulation of materials, or in other words, raw materials for industrial purposes, and the industrial enterprises, Kriya Shakti, are all due to gross ignorance of spiritual life. In order to rectify the great anomaly of materialistic civilization based on the principles of Dravya Shakti or Kriya Shakti, one has to adopt the process of devotional service of the Lord by adoption of the principles of Karma Yoga mentioned in the Bhagavad-gītā 9.27 as follows. O son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerity that you may perform, should be done as an offering unto me. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. So, uh, I want to just share the screen with you all. Just give me 1 minute. Yeah, I'll have to find that particular. I'm just trying to find yesterday's chart that was there, which is actually there is very helpful chart. And I will just take it from here itself. Give me 1 minute, okay? I'm just sharing it with you. Hmm. Yeah. So see how this ahankar, it is divided into three parts. Okay, Dravya Shakti, Kriya Shakti, and Jnana Shakti. Okay, so mm, this is the spotlight, so that is easy. So, this Dravya Shakti, you know, this is actually, if you see this, ignorance, we'll start with ignorance always. Dravya Shakti is actually matter of ahankar in the mode of goodness. Mode of ignorance. I'm sorry. And Kriya Shakti is is the activity in the mode of passion, and then Jnana Shakti is the activity in the mode of goodness. So that ahankar is transformed into three parts. Okay, tridha. Tridha means three parts or three features derived from sattva, rajas and tamas. So it is called Dravya Shakti, Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti. So Dravya Shakti has the capacity to produce 5 gross elements over here. Okay, 5 gross elements, and now the Kriya Shakti has this capacity to produce the Jnana Shakti, which has Jnana Shakti, sorry, the Kriya Shakti has this capacity to produce all these 10 senses and intelligence. And then this Jnana Shakti has the capacity to produce all these sense devatas, the 10 sense devatas that you see over here. And then this state of equilibrium that is there, you know, is called actually pradhan. When these gunas are yet not agitated, they are in dormant state, sukta avastha mein hai. Okay, but when this pradhan is agitated by time, if you see over here, kala is agitated by then time, and then this pradhan also. Okay, so pradhan is agitated by time, and this the predominance of this sattva produces this mahatattva. Okay, so because 3 modes in inactive state, then sattva becomes predominant, and this produces the mahatattva, and the predominance of rajas, sutra tattva in rajas. So predominant in rajas produces what is called the sutra tattva. Sutra tattva, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that it is a part of mahatattva only. Okay, so mahatattva in sattva and sutra tattva in rajas. So mahatattva is said to be predominantly actually rajas, because see, for creation you need the mode of passion, right? You don't need ignorance, you don't need satogun for something to create. For example, somebody wants to actually create a car, or you know, create something, you need passion ki ha karna hai, now I can do it. So then you need rajas over there, rajaguna over there. So actually mahatattva is predominantly sattva, and what is said over here is the combination of mahatattva and sutra tattva, and then the predominance of tamas produces ahankar. So combination of mahatattva in sattva and sutra tattva in rajas, and then the predominance of tamas, then what is produced? Then ahankar is produced, you know, predominantly in tamas. So then predominance of this, the mode of, you can say, ignorance, then that is producing अहंकार. अब देखो ना, हम बोलते हैं ना अहंकार क्या है, किसी के पास अगर अहंकार है तो फिर वो रजोगुण में नहीं, सॉरी, तमोगुण में है, ठीक है ना, बिकॉज it is born out of mode of ignorance. So when we say pradhan is predominant, one may ask that if ahankar is tamas, then from where did all these sattvic, rajas and tamas ahankar come from? there should be only tamas ahankar. So therefore this word pradhan is used. Therefore this pradhan is predominantly tamas, but it also has sattva and rajas. And so you get these sattvic ahankar and rajasic ahankar also. So similarly, even Mahatattva is predominantly Rajas and Sattva. Rajas and Sattva. And then one may ask that how did Ahankar come? So which means that it is predominantly Rajas and Tamas. So it has also Tamas element. And that Tamas portion transforms into Ahankar over here. So this is actually what is being said over here. So we will just go to the next. Stop sharing the screen. I'm sorry. Okay. Tamasad api bhutader विक्रुवानाद अभुन्नबाह तस्य मात्र गुण शब्दो लिंगम यद दृष्टिर दृश्ययो. Priyanka Mataji, please read this 25th translation and purpose.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. From the darkness of false ego, the first of the five elements, namely the sky, is generated. Its subtle form is the quality of sun, exact relationship with the sea. Purport: the five elements, namely sky, air, fire, water, and earth, are all but different qualities of the darkness of false ego. This means ego, in the sum total form of Mahatattva, is generated from the marginal potency of the Lord, and due to this false ego of lording it over the material ingredient, the living being is practically the dominating factor over the material elements as the enjoyer, though the background is the Supreme Lord. Actually, save and accept the Lord.
So your voice is cutting.
Desires to become the enjoyer.
Priyanka, we are not able to hear you in between. Your voice is cutting. So you have to see where there is a strong connection, internet connection.
Yes. Yes, Mataji. Is it fine now? Is it audible?
Yeah, audible.
This is the origin of false ego. When the bewildered living being desires this, the shadow elements are generated by the will of the Lord, and the living entities are allowed to run after them as after a phantasmagoria. It is said that the first Tanmantra sound is created and then the sky, and in this verse it is confirmed that actually it is so, but the sound is the subtle form of the sky, and the distinction is like that between the seer and the seen. The sound is a representation of the actual object, as the sound produced speaking of the object gives an idea of the description of the object. Therefore, sound is the subtle characteristic of the object. Similarly, sound representation of the Lord in terms of his characteristics is the complete form of the Lord, as was seen by Vasudeva and Maharaj Dhritarashtra, the fathers of Lord Krishna, and Lord Dasaratha, the fathers of Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram. The sound representation of the Lord is non-different from the Lord himself, because the Lord and his representation in sound are absolute knowledge. Lord Chaitanya has instructed us that in the holy name of the Lord, as sound representation of the Lord, all the potencies of the Lord are invested. Thus, one can immediately enjoy the association of the Lord by the pure vibration of the sound representation of his holy name, and the concept of the Lord is immediately manifested before the pure devotee. A pure devotee, therefore, is not aloof from the Lord even for a moment. The holy name of the Lord as recommended in the Shastras, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, may therefore be constantly chanted by the devotee, aspiring to be constantly in touch with the Supreme Lord. One who is thus able to associate with the Lord is sure to be delivered from the darkness of the created world, which is a product of false ego. Tasmaima Jyotirgama. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. So first we see the transformation or creation of the products of this tamas ahankar. If I have to share with you all, okay, let me just share with you all. Mostly I may have to find it where it is. So, okay, let me just. Sorry, I thought that we would not require it, so I just put it off. Yeah, I'm just sharing a video. Okay. Yeah. So when we say over here, if you see sound over here, okay. So first we'll see that this transformation or creation of these products of this tamas ahankar, these 5 elements that are there. The 5 tanmatras are also there. Okay. The 5 tanmatras, in this also there is a specific, kram or order of creation. So the order of creation is from the subtlest to the grossest. And the tanmatras are more subtler than the elements. Therefore, the first thing that would be created is the sound. And then from sound, then there is ether. Okay, ether is created. And then from ether, if you see down over here, from ether means air, okay? So from this ether, then what is actually created? Sense of touch, okay? And then from the sense of touch, what form is created? Then air, okay? And then from air, what is created? Sorry, the sense of touch, what is created? Yeah, air is only created. Yeah, from the air, the sense of touch is created. And from the touch, form is created. So from the form, then fire is created. And from the fire, then taste is created. And then from the taste, water is created. That is why Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gītā that I am the taste in water. So then taste is, and from this taste, then water is created, and then from water, smell is created, and from the smell, then the earth. So if you see now, when there is the first rain that falls on the earth, what do? There is a nice smell coming from the earth, right? So that way. So then these tanmatras, tanmatra of actually ether is actually sound. So this is what is being explained over here. Okay. So let's check with the other thing. 26 shloka. So 26 to 29, there is a continuous, what do you say? We'll just skip the Sanskrit and we'll just go to the straight to the translation, okay? Yeah, Vignesh, please read the translation and the purport both.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Translation. Because the sky is transformed, the air is generated with the quality of touch, and by previous succession, the air is also full of sound, and the basic principles of duration of life, sense perception, mental power, and bodily strength. When the air is transformed in course of time and nature's course, fire is generated, taking shape with the sense of touch and sound. Since fire is also transformed, there is a manifestation of water, full of juice and taste. As previously, it also has form and touch and is also full of sound. And water being transformed from all variegatedness on earth appears odorous and, as previously, becomes qualitatively full of juice, touch, sound, and form respectively. Purport: the whole process of creation is an act of gradual evolution and development from one element to another, reaching up to the variegatedness of the earth as so many trees, plants, mountains, rivers, reptiles, birds, animals, and varieties of human beings. The quality of sense perception is also evolutionary, namely generated from sound, then touch, and from touch to form. Taste and odor are also generated along with the gradual development of sky, air, fire, water, and earth. They are all mutually the cause and effect of one another. But the original cause is the Lord Himself in plenary portion as Mahavishnu lying in the causal water of the Mahatattva. As such, Lord Krishna is described in the Brahma Samhita as the cause of all causes. And this is confirmed in the Bhagavad-gītā 10.8 as follows: Aham sarvasya prabhu matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha mam samanvitaha. The qualities of sense perception are fully represented in the earth and they are manifested in other elements to a lesser extent. In the sky, there is sound only, whereas in the air, there are sound and touch. In the fire, there are sound, touch, and shape. And in the water, there is a taste also, along with the other perceptions, namely sound, touch, and shape. In the earth, however, there are all the above mentioned qualities with an extra development of odor also. Therefore, on the earth, there is a full display of variegatedness of life, which is originally started with the basic principle of air. Diseases of the body take place due to derangement of air within the earthly body of the living beings. Mental diseases result from special derangement of the air within the body, and as such, yogic exercise is especially beneficial to keep the air in order so that diseases of the body become almost nil by such exercises. When they are properly done, the duration of life also increases, and one can have control over death also by such practices. A perfect yogi can have command over death and quit the body at the right moment when he is competent to transfer himself to a suitable planet. The Bhakti Yogi, however, surpasses all the yogis because by dint of his devotional service, he is promoted to the region beyond the material sky and is placed in one of the planets in the spiritual sky by the supreme will of the Lord, the controller of everything.
Yeah. So whatever sensual strength, you can say this prana. Pran is actually controls all these karmendriyas, buddhi, and buddhi controls the jnanendriya. So if one's pran is weak, then he is sick. Sickness means prana shakti becomes very weak, and then one's karmendriyas also cannot function properly. So physical activity becomes very difficult. So sensual strength is connected to actually prana, and even this air also is holding the hold the previous quality of sound. So every element is holding the previous quality, but the earth is holding most of the qualities. Like the earth will hold even the smell also, the taste also. That is why you see small children eat mud a lot because they find it very tasty. Then the earth will have a form also. You can give shape to that clay in any form, and you can touch also. And earth has sound also. When there is a big crackling noise, there are earthquakes, then sound also, and of course air also. So um, uh, so in this last paragraph, what Prabhupada is trying to say is that uh, diseases of this body take place due to the dearrangement of air within the earthly body. So you have cough Pit and Vat. So if somebody's Vat is very strong, okay, Vat means, deepest level, if it enters into the bones also, then you have this arthritis problem and all. And if you don't cure it in the beginning only, then it goes, even if you're sleeping, then you have pain, you turn to the right, you have pain, you walk, you have pain. And then even these mental diseases also result from some special dearrangement of air within the body. Like for example, somebody has a headache. Why? Because there is Vat. The moment that particular person drinks ginger or does pranayam or brahmari, then it helps to keep that headache in order. Or it's I know that my younger sister has got very heavy Vat. So heavy Vat in the sense that you touch any part of her body, she used to burp. So if I'm just touching her arms and I just press a little of her arm, she will burp. Or even if I just touch her shoulder and I press her shoulder, she will burp. That heavy the vata. So then she tried to do a lot many things, but the only final solution that she found out was intermittent fasting. And intermittent fasting gave her good results. So from 1 month, she's been doing that intermittent fasting. So she does not have at least that problem. In fact, she used to have knee problem also and some ankle problem also, but because of that got cured. So if anybody has this Vat problem, then yoga, Prabhupada is telling yogic exercise is especially beneficial to keep the air in order so that the diseases of the body become almost nil by such exercises. So yoga is also very good. Somebody can do yoga. Somebody's Vat is very strong. Or if somebody's Pitta is very strong, then you do Shitali pranayam to keep. Pitta means if somebody is eating too spicy food, too oily food, eating on wrong times. They eating, of course, in the Bhagavad-gītā 17th chapter, Prabhupada has explained all this in very great details. That somebody is eating very pungent food also. Somebody is eating stale food also, morning, evening, and evening ka next day morning if somebody is eating, then that is completely, that body becomes like a pitta. Then the results of pycnia, people will get acne and skin diseases and skin problems and rashes and less sleep and digestion problem, metabolism problem, of course, metabolism problem, everything, all this. And then that, gives rise to, what do you say, fats and belly fat and whatnot fat. So, that is why these three need to be balanced properly. So let's see the next. वैकारिकान् मनोजाज्ने देव वैकारिका दशा दिग्वार वार्तार्का प्रचेतोस्वी विहीनेन्द्रोपेन्द्र मित्रकाः. Vishal Kumar Prabhu, please read this translation and purport both.
हरे कृष्ण माता जी.
हरे कृष्ण, केम छो? मजामा?
एकदम मजामा.
Okay, read.
From the mode of goodness, the mind is generated and becomes manifest, and also the 10 demigods controlling the bodily movements. Such demigods are known as the controller of directions, the controller of air, the sun god, the father of Daksha Prajapati, the Ashwini Kumaras, the fire god, the king of heaven, the worshipable deity in the heaven, the chief of the Adityas, and Brahmaji the Prajapati, all come into existence. Purport. Vaikarika is the neural stage of creation, and Tejas is the initiative of creation, while Tamas is the full display of material creation under the spell of the darkness of ignorance. Manufacture of the necessities of life in factories and workshops excessively prominent in the age of Kali or in the age of the machine is the summit stage of the quality of darkness. Such manufacturing enterprises by human society are in the mode of darkness because factually there is no necessity for the commodities manufactured. Human society primarily requires food for subsistence,
Sus-
shelter for sleeping. Ji Mataji?
Sustenance.
Yeah, sustenance, uh, shelter for sleeping, defense for protection, and commodities for satisfaction of the senses. The senses are the practical signs of life. As will be explained in the next verse, human civilization is meant for purifying the senses, and objects of sense gratification should be supplied as much as absolutely required, but not for aggravating artificial sensory needs. Food, shelter, defense, and sense gratification are all needs in material existence. Otherwise, in his pure, uncontaminated state of original life, the living entity has no such needs. The needs are therefore artificial, and in the pure state of life, there are no such needs. As such, increasing the artificial needs as is the standard of material civilization, or advancing the economic development of human society, is a sort of engagement in darkness without knowledge. By such engagement, human energy is spoiled, because human energy is primarily meant for purifying the senses in order to engage them in satisfying the senses of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord, being the supreme possessor of spiritual senses, is the master of the senses, Rishikesh. Uh, uh, Ra- Ri- Rishika means the senses, and Isha means the master. The Lord is not the servant of the senses, or in other words, he is not directed by the direction of the senses, but the conditioned souls or the individual living entities are servants of of the senses. They are conducted by the direction or dictation of the senses, and therefore material civilization is a kind of engagement in sense gratification only. The standard of human civilization should be to cure the disease of sense gratification, and one can do this simply by becoming an agent for satisfying the spiritual senses of the Lord. The senses are never to be stopped in their engagements, but one should purify them by engaging them in the pure service of sense gratification of the master of the senses. This is the instruction of the whole Bhagavad Gita. Arjun wanted first of all to satisfy his own senses by his decision not to fight with his kinsmen and friends. But Lord Sri Krishna taught him the Bhagavad Gita just to purify Arjuna's decision for sense gratification. Therefore, Arjun agreed to satisfy the senses of the Lord, and thus he fought the battle of Kurukshetra as the Lord desired. There is more. The Vedas instruct us to get out of the existence of darkness and go forward in the path of light. Tamsi ma Jyotirgama. The path of the light is therefore to satisfy the senses of the Lord. Misguided men or less intelligent men follow the path of self-realization without any attempt to satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord by following the path by Arjuna and other devotees of the Lord. On the contrary, they artificially try to stop the activities of the senses, yoga system, or they deny the transcendental sense of the Lord, jnana system. The devotees, however, are above the yogis and the jnanis, because pure devotees do not deny the senses of the Lord. They want to satisfy the senses of the Lord. Only because of the darkness of ignorance do the yogis and jnanis deny the senses of the Lord, and thus artificially try to control the activities of the diseased senses. In the diseased condition of the senses, there is too much engagement of the senses in increasing material needs. When one comes to see the disadvantage of aggravating the activities, one is called a jnani. And when one tries to stop the activities of the senses by the practice of yogic principles, he is called a yogi. But when one is fully aware of the transcendental sense of the Lord and tries to satisfy his senses, uh, one is called a devotee of the Lord. The devotees of the Lord do not try to deny the senses of the Lord, nor do they artificially stop the actions of the sense. But they do voluntarily engage the purify senses in the service of the master of the senses, as was done by Arjun, thereby easily attaining the perfection of satisfying the Lord, the ultimate goal of all perfection. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Well read. So, because now in this chapter we are going to see this this particular shloka. We are seeing that this creation of products of false ego is in the mode of goodness, because from the mode of goodness this mind is only actually created and becomes manifest. And also these 10 demigods also, who are controlling all the bodily movements, like there are demigods who are the controller of all the directions, or Varuna, who is the controller of air, or Surya, who is the sun god, or um, um, the Ashwini Kumaras, the fire god, or the king of the heaven, Indra. All these are, they come into existence, the devatas and the mind also. If you see, from the mode of goodness, the mind is generated over here. So the mind originally is in the mode of goodness. But what happens is, when it comes into this material nature, then this mind that is there, it actually gets affected with rajas and tamas. Okay, so that is why the food for the mind to be in the mode of goodness always is actually Harinam and Harikatha. So with these two things, it will always remain. And it will be the best friend of the soul also. So, but, okay, there's a question, I think. Madhiji, where does Maya fit in the flowchart? Ah, good question. Okay, let me stop sharing the screen and show you the chart again, so that, okay. You're able to see this screen? You're able to see the chart?
Yes, Mataji.
Chart दिख रहा है आपको?
Yes, Mataji, we can see.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, well able to see the chart. Okay. Fine. So, if you see, Krishna's external energy is actually Maya. Okay. So, when this particular ahankar that is there, in the ahankar only actually, it is mixed with Maya only. And that's how, whether a person is in ignorance or passion, then Maya will automatically enact in this particular way. So from ahankar, from this point onwards, then Maya actually comes for. But it has not been explained very elaborately over here. When we will reach to the third canto, that time it is elaborately explained at that point of time. So that time Maya ka kafi. So yeah, Vignesh Prabhu is telling, if mind is primarily in sattva and intelligence is a product of rajas, why is it said that we must control the mind with the superior intelligence? Yes. So if you see, when they say that you have to control the mind with the intelligence, because when the mind comes in touch with ignorance and passion, so then it becomes contaminated. Now, if intelligence is sharpened, then intelligence will, so because intelligence is a product of rajas, you're saying, right? So when intelligence is sharpened with proper knowledge, then intelligence will be able to control the mind. Because when intelligence is also getting its, what you say, food, then intelligence also comes in the mode of goodness. and then it can control the lower modes also. So, and of course, the soul is Shuddha Sattva. So then, because the intelligence is enough sharpened with the sword of knowledge, and it can cut the ignorance of the living entity, or whatever the contamination is there in a person's mind, and that's how the intelligence can primary. And who can actually properly, whose intelligence is above the mind? The spiritual master's intelligence is above the mind. And only the spiritual master can tell what is the defect in us. Like, for example, I have a black dot on my nose. So I'm not able to see until unless I go in the mirror and see that black dot. So Guru is like that mirror. He will show you that what is your defect. Because Guru's intelligence is above the mind. Our intelligence is below the mind. That is why the mind is controlling the intelligence and the senses. So when the spiritual master's intelligence is, because the spiritual master's intelligence is above the mind, the spiritual master will tell you that, okay, this is your ahankar, this is the areas you need to improve, and spiritual master will tell what are the defects in us. So that's how, as we say, what is that we say in the morning, in Guru Puja that we sing, I forget. In the morning, actually, when we sing, that in the Guru Puja, Yahar prasade bhai eva bhatoriya jai. Yahara prasade bhai. So that prasad actually is got from the spiritual master only, that we get in the form of his mercy. So spiritual master, when he's guiding, is giving the mercies, he's giving instructions. Sometimes some people cannot take the instruction of the spiritual master. They have their own ahankar. So then they sufficiently need to be humble, and then they can understand the instruction of the spiritual master. But primarily, in this case, the spiritual master only will be able to help. Otherwise, not possible that we become, sufficiently to know whatever are our defects. The Guru will tell us what are your defects. Okay, I hope that suffices your answers.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So, thank you, dear devotees. Thank you so much. We'll just wind up for the day, because the next shloka onwards, there is another explanation also. So this will be like complete explanation and all. And the next chapter will be two wonderful chapter. So imagine by this weekend, we will be completing this particular chapter. So we are halfway. 50% of this book we'll be completing. There are only 10 chapters in this book. So we are halfway with this book by the end of this week, and Monday we'll start the next half. So thank you so much for joining in. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji,
Hare
Dandavat
Krishna.
Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna.